certain shows that are ingrained into American culture. And when you say their names, they get instant reactions. Shows like Family Feud, Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, The Price is Right. They're all ingrained in American culture just by saying their names. Another show that when you say its name also gets an instant reaction, and that is the subject of today's video. I give you the 1990 revival of Let's Make a Deal.
Behind these ever-changing doors waits a spectacular assortment of cash, merchandise, fun, and incredible surprises. Today, from the Disney MGM studios in Florida, it's time to play America's favorite game. It's big, it's bold, it's the one and only Let's Make a Deal! And
the venerable series Let's Make a Deal got its third revival in June of 1990. That's right, third. The first revival was a Canadian-based show in 1980. The more well-known revival of the Monty Hall hosted once was dubbed the all-new Let's Make a Deal in 1984, and the third one made its debut on July 9th, 1990. Like all of the previous revivals, this one was the first to not have any direct involvement from Monty Hall himself, but rather the combination of Dick Clark and Ron Greenberg. While I think one of their shows was the best of the 1990s and the Challengers, this show really didn't do it for me and wasn't a deal worth making. Now, just to let everybody know, this is not going to be a Games of 90 turn induction. However, by my tone of voice, if it does sound like it, don't worry, you're not being confused, because this revival really isn't that good. Honestly, it all started to go downhill when this guy was selected as host.
now, here's our host, that guy with the deals in his pocket and a twinkle in his eye, Bob Hilton!
It gets deafening in here sometimes. What a crowd. Look at this. This is terrific. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody out there. Oh, look at our trainers for the day.
As I said prior, this would be the first time that Let's Make a Deal would not be hosted by Monty Hall. Instead, this would be hosted by veteran game show announcer Bob Hilton. Bob was a fantastic announcer for shows such as Blockbusters, Trivia Trap, Win, Lose, or Draw, and when he subbed for Gene Wood on Password Plus and Card Sharks. As a host, though, he left a lot to be desired. Bob never really clicked with anyone, but how can you when your two hosting gigs are that of replacing two legends in Bob Barker on True the Consequences and Monty Hall on this show? Hilton might have done better with a different type of show, but who knows. In certain instances, he seemed really distant from the proceedings and looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. I guess even he knew the writing was on the wall for him, as by October of 1990 he was fired, a last-ditch effort to save the show from cancellation.
And now, here's our special guest host, ladies and gentlemen, the big dealer himself, Monty Hall! Thank you very much for coming. Good to see you guys. So do you. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Have a good time here today. Cheer for these people down here. Okay, let's cheer down a little bit, folks, as we start with deal number one.
So we get our last-ditch effort in Monty Hall. Let's be honest here. Monty Hall is Let's Make a Deal during this time period. He hosted as well in 1990, just as great as he hosted in 84, in 80, 72, 63, or any year that Let's Make a Deal with Monty Hall as a host was on the air. I also don't like the way he was introduced as special guest host when he was the new permanent host when Bob Hilton got fired. They could have hyped this up as the return of the big dealer, but honestly that didn't materialize. Another thing that you might see missing is the lack of a co-host of sorts. While Monty had either Jay Stewart, Brian Cummings, or Dean Goss to play off in previous versions, Bob and Monty on this version had no one. Instead, they had a few models that if you were told their names, they wouldn't mean much. Dean Muccio was the announcer for the show, but all he did was announce, thus an element of the show was lost. Also, Muccio sucked as an announcer. I'm sorry, but I didn't like him on That's My Dog, Family Secrets, and especially here since he couldn't sell someone who missed out on a deal. Instead, he said it like they actually won it. None of the above announcers would do that, even Dean Goss. So what changed with the game? Well, nothing really. There were still the same games that we saw in earlier editions of Let's Make a Deal, such as the follow the leader boss style of game where one dealer out of three made the decisions for the group, without anybody doing any more complaining. And also some pricing deals where a couple had to get certain grocery items within a certain range to win a car or some other big prize. What we also saw was updated versions of old deals. One that I remember was the old tape recorder deal being updated with the use of VCR and the new video wall. I'll admit that that video wall is pretty cool looking. Also, the budget for the show was good as well for daytime, with the big deals usually going between $11,000 and $15,000. Also still here are the quickie deals, which is a nice touch. Well, that was the TV version of the show. There was another version that happened during this time, and that was a live stage show that took place during days that the show wasn't being taped, to give Universal Studios goers a look at how a TV show is made. While neither Bob nor Monty did these shows, they had a bunch of capable hosts do the shows as if they were TV shows. There's a nice 13-minute compilation of moments and backstage interviews up on YouTube for you to check out. I'll say that they all did a fine job working with the live crowd, so they could have done a serviceable job if they got the gig that Bob Hilton had. Something to note by watching the video is that one of the hosts looks to be former Think Fast host Michael Carrington. Knowing that makes me wonder if he actually was invited to be at Nick Studios to do the second season of Think Fast, but turned it down to do the Let's Make a Deal stage show. The world will never know. Well, at least until somebody asks him. At the end of the day, the heart wasn't there with this version. It honestly felt like more of a stage show that they aired on TV, and the stage show was better executed. Some of that can be attributed to the show not being produced by Monty himself, but rather Dick Clark and Ron Greenberg. As a matter of, they had something that looked like Let's Make a Deal, but really didn't feel like Let's Make a Deal, like an uncanny valley of deal until Monty came back. Bob Hilton's miscasting was something that pretty much doomed the show from the start. Not even Monty's return could save it, and the show was canceled on July 4th, 1991. Unlike the three prior versions of the show, which have reran since their runs ended in some form, this version remains buried in the vaults. Thankfully, we got a much better version 18 years later in the current revival on CBS, hosted by Wayne Brady. The version that erased 20 years of middling to bad deals is one of the best revivals going today. The reason for this is Wayne, Jonathan, Tiffany, and the crew made the show their own while staying true to the original. And Dick and Ron did that, then it could have gone better. But alas, it wasn't meant to be. And that is the saga of the 1990 revival of Let's Make a Deal that really shouldn't have been made. Next time out, we're going to do the last NBC game show that we haven't covered for this series, and that is Scrabble. Until next time, bye-bye!